Hello everybody and welcome back to On Point HQ and a different kind of video. I've started something new. I've decided to add to my jungle based US Marine Corps for Bolt Action with another piece of armour support, namely this Sherman. Now, rather than just paint it and show it, what I thought I'd do is make a video plotting my adventures through painting this thing. I thought it'd be something a bit different, just to show how I go about doing certain things, and it'd be good to plot it from this to the finished article. Now, what I intend to do with this as well is my local gaming group is running a painting competition, a themed one, and the current theme is tanks. So I've been painting a lot of German stuff recently, let's be honest. I didn't want to mention another German tank. So what I thought I'd do is I had this Sherman kit lying around. So I thought I would enter this. I've already done a bit of prep work on it. The more observant people will notice, I've gone for plank armour on the sides. There'll be some photographs on the screen now, just to show a bit of a better close-up of this. This was really very easy to make. All it is, excuse me, is coffee stirrers, cut to size, cut to shape, glued to the tank, and then for the studs, holding it to the actual hull of the tank, I very simply sliced some circular sprue, glued them, and then filed them down to make them look a bit battered. Same with the wood. I went at it with a craft knife afterwards, just to make it look like it's been beaten up a bit, get a bit more realism, and I've painted it brown, and then the actual tank's just been given a couple of coats of Russian green uniform. So that's where we are. So what I'm going to do is go away, work on it, and then each time I've done something, I'll do a short segment of the video, and this will hopefully build up into quite an interesting little video that charts my progress from this very basic looking Sherman to the finished piece that I can enter in the competition and also use with games of Bolt Action. So what's the next stage? A couple of things. I need to work on the wood. Very, very basic at the moment. It's just been given a couple of thin coats of Vallejo burnt umber. So I need to add some inks, dry brush that, really bring out the grain, make it look a bit more wood than it really is. I need to add some decals. I always add decals before I do weathering on vehicles, so they'll be going on, and the tracks. So that's going to be the next part. So I'm going to go away, work on that. Once that's done, I shall take some more photographs and I'll be back in the next part of the video. So see you in a bit. Okay, so that is the first stage of what I was intending to work on completed. So what I've been doing, so I've painted the wood, or the planks, the metal studs that are attached to the tank, and then I've been working on the actual hull of the tank as well. Added some decals before adding a wash. There'll be some photographs on the screen now of the current status of the Sherman. I'm actually quite happy with how it's turned out at the moment. Keeping it really, really very simple, not going completely overboard with the effects. For example, the planks were just simple. A wash with Agrax Earthshade, followed by a dry brush, initially of burnt umber, and then a more upper and lighter dry brush of just sunny skin tone, and the studs very easily just painted in gunmetal grey, and then with a wash of Agrax over them as well. The actual tank, the actual main hull of the tank, is painted in Russian uniform green. With the wash, if you've seen any of my videos before, and I just battered it with Agrax Earthshade. I did something different this time. What I actually did was I combined 3 washes together. So I used Agrax Earthshade, Seraphim Sepia, Reichland Flesh Shade, Agrax Earthshade, and Athonian Camo Shade. Mixed this into a wash of its own, and then really diluted it with lots of water, and then just applied this over the entire tank. And to be fair, it's turned out quite well. It's more of a more diluted Agrax Earthshade, but with the other colours thrown in as well, it gave it more it left some really good streaks, and like with the water effect on there as well. So that was, I didn't know what I was doing when I did that. I just thought, I might as well have a go, see how it turns out. And it turned out really quite well. I might use this on other Allied tanks that I work on. Yeah, decals straight from my collection of, I've got a bag absolutely jam-packed full of different decals. And I've used this on here. The big Allied star there, you can see it there, I've chipped away to make it look a bit battered and worn. And I decided to give it a name. This is a little bit different. I know on the Allied transfer or decal set, you do get names to add to your tanks. This is actually from the when I was going through my collection of decals, I found an old Imperial Guard Cadian transfer set, and it had a couple of sort of Latin vehicle names on there. So I just cut one in half, and this has now been christened as Mechanicus, so that's its name moving forward. So that's where we are now. Still a fair way to go. This is just the very basic bits down, so I'm going to go and add some details. But while I was putting together, I was looking at some reference material, some photographs, so I've got something to work from. And I saw that quite a few of the Shermans had sandbags on the front. So I thought, I haven't got any milliput, which I'd normally make sandbags from. But then I just remembered I've been working on the Commonwealth infantry box from Warlord Games, and there's 10 sandbags in that set. And so what I did was I've snipped all 10 off the sprues, and what I'll be doing is adding these to the front of the tank. A bit more additional armour. These should work. So I've cut these off and I've tied them up. So what I'm going to do next is apply these to the front of the tank, paint them, weather them, and then I'm going to do a bit more detail. So I'm going to add the metallic parts to the machine guns. There's a couple of tow wires on there, and the tools as well. Once I've done that, I'll be back with the next part of the video. So see you in a little bit. So that is another stage of the Sherman completed. So what have I done? Well, I've added the 10 sandbags from the Commonwealth infantry box. They've gone on the front. Gave them a very simple paint scheme. I think it was just burnt umber, light wash, and a light highlight afterwards. But I think they have really worked quite well. There are a few pictures on the screen now, a closer look at what I've completed so far. But yeah, the sandbags, they seem to have worked quite well. A bit easier than making my own. So any kind of labour saving technique, I'm pretty down with that. Let's put it that way. So with them finished, what else have I done? So I've gone in and picked out the smaller details. So I've painted the hull mounted and the turret mounted machine guns. There's a tow cable on the main hull that's been painted, and I've painted the tools that are on the back of the tank as well. These were just painted using Vallejo gunmetal grey, and I've also painted the wooden part of the tools as well. These are just a very simple saddle brown. So that is that part completed. So what's next? Well, I think I'm actually quite close to completion. So I've got the tracks to do, and I think I will work on the tracks next. They're my least favourite part. They're a bit boring, really. It's just tracks. What I'll do is I'll paint the tracks. I'll add a bit of weathering to the suspension and the wheels, and I'll go in with a bit of Vallejo mud and splatter that liberally in between the tracks. It's also good at hiding. There's a bit of a bad join on the front of one of the tracks. I'll use a bit of mud to hide that. Vallejo mud, when you're making tanks, or as far as I'm concerned anyway, it hides a multitude of sins. So once the tracks are done, it'll then just be a bit of extra weathering. Stowage, we don't know yet. I've got lots of stowage knocking around, packs, rolls, tarps, boxes, etc. I might add a few just to give it that kind of lived-in look, but not over the top. but I think I will. That's what will be next. Will be going to be tracks and debating whether or not to add any stowage or not. So I'm going to crack on with the rest. Oh, I've also painted the lights as well. Just a very small detail, but it had to be done. And also on the lamp on top of the turret as well. I'm going to add the medium machine gun at the end of the build. I always, whenever I build these kinds of vehicles, I always add the machine gun on last, as I've got a tendency to knock things off while I'm painting, and it just causes me to swear, so I'm not going to do that. So that'll be going on at the end. So I'm going to go away now, work on the tracks, and let's see whether I decide to add stowage or not. So see you in a little bit. Welcome back, and to quote the great Bob Ross, I'm calling this one finished. That's it done. I went away and did everything that I needed to do. So some close-up views of it. I've discovered the sweet spot for the focus on this camera, so it looks like I can actually do close-in zoom shots now. This is a novel experience. I've only had the camera for over a year, but there we go. So that's the sort of the close-ups of the tank itself. There'll be some photographs on screen now anyway, just so you can see a few better pictures of it. But what you'll see is I painted the tracks. These have been weathered with Vallejo mud. I don't go overboard with this. It's just to hide a few mistakes here and there and make it look as if it's the mud's dried and it's falling off. I don't want it caked in like it's been through, you know, spent the last 4 days in a swamp or something. It just really is here and there, just catching on when mud would naturally get to. So I put it on the front of the fenders. There's some splashed up the back, and just generally in between the suspension. Stowage I went for. I have quite a few of these packs lying around, so I thought I'd again not go too overboard. Just put a bit of stuff on the back, and painted these up very, very simply. And that was that. Then it was on to the finishing details. So I added the machine gun, the turret mounted machine gun. Again, very simply painted. And for the aerial, I don't really use the aerials that come with the kits. I think these are a bit too thick. So what I tend to use is bristles from my I've got a dustpan and brush, and the bristles make great aerials. So yeah, upcycling wherever I can. I think it just looks like a more natural sized and natural width aerial. The last part was just to do the base. If you've seen any previous videos of mine and my jungle basing, this is just very simply mixed herbs applied to the base using PVA and allowed to dry. And that is the whole tank finished. So as you can see, the wood panelling's actually worked out better than I really thought it was going to. Like I said at the start of the video, these were just coffee stirrers that I had lying around. These were just cut to size. I wasn't too even with them. Attached using super glue. Then I used a craft knife to kind of carve away bits through, you know, for general wear and tear. And then from looking at photographs, I noticed these were applied using metal studs. So I found a round piece of sprue, chopped a few pieces, glued these, and again filed them down and made them look a little bit battered. But that is the finished tank, and I'm very happy with it. So like I said, this will be used to reinforce my US Marines for Bolt Action, but I'm also going to be entering this into my local gaming group's painting competition. So let's see how that goes. But that's it. Just thought it'd be interesting to show, rather than just saying I've done this, just to talk you through the processes and the different stages I've been through. But that has worked out really quite well. I'm quite happy with the results. Well, as always, hope you'll find the video useful. If you've got any comments or questions, just leave them down below, and I will certainly respond to any comments or questions about this or anything else gaming related. But as is traditional, thanks for watching. Take care, may your dice roll well, and I'll catch you all in the next video. So bye bye for now.